I am very optimistic. Even the tools that I use in my own life, right? And I look at what other companies are doing. I truly believe that you can build a $1 billion brand with 5 people. You just have to be thoughtful in how you're doing it. You have to have the right technology partners. You have to have the right approach to the agent build out appropriately. And
So I guess we are starting the heySynth experience today.
yeah,
I
number
guess
one,
we
first
number
time.
one. I know we thought about this a few, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. Like, yeah, why not? Let's build in public. Let's share our thoughts, ideas, and our experiences really about building this company. I think it's a great time for us to just be open, be transparent with whoever watches or listens to this to get an insight into how we're building with AI here at Synth.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think a lot of my learnings along my startup journey have actually been from founders that are authentic and honest about where they're at and what they were going through, and having no idea what they were doing as they were going through it. And I always appreciated people being transparent and honest, and I think I got a lot out of those conversations. So not only will we have a fun record of like all the things we've done, and we'll have inflection points along the way because we're documenting it, I think we'll be able to hopefully share some learnings along our own journey with other founders that may be helpful.
For context, I'm Lloyd, co-founder, CEO of heySynth.
I'm Lindsay Cardoso, co founder and COO here at heySynth.
So, what would you like us to talk about today?
Yeah, so gosh, there's been a few things on my mind lately. I've certainly been thinking about the focus that we've had the past few months on our ideal customer profile. And I think, early on, early days, there's always lessons to be had.
Yeah.
But this is like one of the first conversations you and I sat down and had. I was like, where's our ICP? And it was kind of like, well, like we've dabbled here, we've dabbled there. And
Oh
you had
yeah.
some really honest conversations about like, okay, what went wrong? Like when we played in this space and why? And like, where are we seeing the magic happen, right? And then how can we better refine that and get the whole company aligned on our ICP. So I think
Yeah.
that is something that's been certainly top of mind. And I've seen early stage companies like really focus in too hard on this. I've seen them not have a directional North Star on this for years. And I think there's good and bad that come with having it too early or having it too late. But yeah, I'd love to kind of talk about the learnings, right? And then we can obviously share a lot about what we've done to date and hope that we've gotten some of it right so far. And we've probably messed some of it up too.
Oh yeah, we have. We have big time, and we've learned a ton. So when we first started, it was more about procurement. We're trying to figure out how can we build a solution for procurement teams to manage the workflows, everything in one platform. And then like we had an AI chatbot on the side, but it wasn't really embedded to the flow. It was just there. The mistake we made then was during the ideation phase, we spoke to a bank, we spoke to a hospital, we spoke to a construction company, we spoke to literally anyone that was willing to talk to us. And there was no one that had the same pain points. But in our minds, we're like, we'll build, whatever, you want this feature, we'll build that. You want that feature, we'll build that. And so we built this massive platform that had tons of features, but wasn't serving a specific audience. I had no idea until we got to Techstars LA back in 2024. And within the first 2 weeks, our mentors are like, yeah, you guys, this is great, but you have no ICP. Like, who are you building for? And so before then, I didn't really see the value in building for a specific segment. I kind of figured out, if you're willing to pay for the product, then
Yeah.
I mean, I'll sell it to you. But I think Techstars really helped us to figure out, who we should build for. And we're very fortunate to be in LA, where we had access to tons of CPG brands, and we spoke to food and beverage, yeah, apparel, beauty, personal care, like literally everybody. And we built our solution. But even then, we didn't really figure out who we're building for We had this experience, I think late last year, where we onboarded an apparel brand to Synth. We built our solution without apparel in mind. So apparel, if you pick up a product like a T-shirt at let's say Zara or something, that T-shirt would have different colors, different sizes, and so one SKU would have multiple variants. We didn't build Synth with that initially, and so we had this brand come on board, and we had this sweet onboarding process. It was very quick, super easy. And our team worked with them closely for 2 months. But somehow we missed that they had this unique situation where they needed to see variants for each SKU. And then one day we get an email from the CEO, like, hey, they want to she wants to meet with us. And I was in the meeting, so I couldn't join the call. So the team met with her and she was screaming. She was like, you guys are crazy. I'm so pissed off. She's said some swear words, said a few racist stuff as well. And we tried to pacify her, like, hey, you know what? We can fix the stuff in like 1 hour. It's such a small thing. We just didn't have that insight. And so about ICP, it's really just understanding who you're building for and really focused on that.
Yeah, yeah. So, gosh, so many things come to mind with that story. I think, from an ICP perspective, so many people look at it as like the North Star for go to market, right? And it's like
Yeah,
it's critical for that. But a
yeah,
lot of times people forget that it's like the foundational portion of like what you're building from a product development perspective. So for the engineering team, right, to know what they're working
yeah.
they're building something that's uniquely solving something for a specific area, buyer, industry, etc. I think that's sometimes where the challenge is. And you go into conversations where if you have it wrong, that customer ends up being very, very disappointed and then you fail, right? So you kind of don't know if you have your ICP right and the product market fit right until it all starts working. And then you realize
Yeah,
we're solving the same thing. It's working, right? We're solving it over and over again and they love it and they want to keep using it and they
yeah,
love it. One thing on the ICP portion that I think a lot of people discount is like the cultural aspect of it.
right.
So you're mentioning like this horrible experience with a brand screaming at you and clearly being very unkind and not very professional. I think when you get your ICP right, not to say that there's not people out there that act that way, but like you don't get that, right? You get
Yeah,
people that love what you've built, they get your vibe, they love the company, they want to go out and be your champions and your cheerleaders.
yeah,
And that's a part of getting ICP right, that like it's not so much on the paper, right? It's more of like
right.
feeling. And I look back, everyone brings on customers that aren't a good fit, right? And a lot of
Yeah,
that on the startup because you're desperate for customers, you're desperate for revenue. But if you really think about like the greatest customers you have, and when you start to hit that trajectory of like hockey stick growth, it
yeah.
feels right too. And then the product fits them and you focused in on the right area and you were solving something, you're getting quick value to that customer and they want to grow, they want to expand with you, right? They're hooked in, they're committed, and they want to be your biggest
Late
cheerleaders.
last year, we onboarded like quite a number of brands, about 6 brands roughly. That experience helped us to really figure out who we wanted to build for. And I think for us, a lot of things happened coincidentally that just made sense and why we chose the ICP we're really honing on right now. So we had food and beverage brands and Synth. We had beauty and personal care, and they were using the products, However, we knew that something was missing. We knew we had to focus on one specific type of business. Fortunately for us, we are already thinking about that. I think you remember this, a couple of weeks ago when we are doing research on who should we sell to. Like, we have different categories. Who has the biggest pain points for what we're solving? As it, who needs to really organize and streamline their supply chain, to make it more revenue aware. And we saw the food and beverage space. We saw beauty and personal care. And I think what really drove us to choosing the beauty and personal care really is that need for scale, but with a small team, a small workforce. And that really speaks to, leveraging AI agents to help these brands accomplish all of these things without needing to add headcount. I mean, I guess you want to talk more about that ICP and how and why we're really doubling down on them.
Yeah, so I think you hit the nail on the head where there's like immediate alignment on, okay, you have an AI agent workforce that can make you more efficient, right? And that's one portion. But when we look at beauty and cosmetics and personal care brands, we also see that there's like a rather complex and fragmented value chain. So you're not just looking at your final product and it's going on a shelf and you're manufacturing it in-house and you're shipping it yourself. What you're looking at is I have many different components, partners out there from a supplier perspective. I have co-manufacturers and partners, right? I do final assembly. I may be doing labeling and some final packaging, et cetera, at one location. And then I send it out to a 3PL. Oh, and by the way, I send it out to multiple retailers, and I have my consumer channels. And I'm doing this at like volatile velocities across all of these channels because I went viral last week on one of
Yeah,
the products. And I think when you factor in like all of those things,
yeah,
it makes sense perfect for those brands. And that's not completely unique to personal care and beauty, but the fact that they scale very quickly, they have a very different approach from a marketing and growth perspective and data and intelligence that doesn't tie into their inventory. And also that they're doing this with like really small and mighty teams.
yeah,
They're doing it across different systems. They don't typically adopt advanced inventory platforms. And then they have spreadsheets like left and right. It's
yeah, yeah,
perfect it's the perfect problem that we are solving. But I would say that the value we bring is like immediate, right? These teams are dying for
yeah,
additional support. They hit a point where they can't scale because one person can't be in 10 different areas trying to figure out what their inventory and demand forecasting looks like. And
yeah.
ultimately for them, lost revenue, right? Lost revenue lies in inventory and inaccurate demand forecasting. So there's so many reasons like why it's perfect for us, but I think why our product is perfect for them is kind of all the things that we covered and like then some.
I think you also missed out the retailers chargeback. So
Oh yeah, those.
yeah, when these brands go out of stock at the retailer, at Sephora or Ulta, they get charged. They get penalized for that. And so there are many, many reasons why these brands, need a synth to exist today. And we found that in 2025, many consumers, many buyers are now omnichannel. Like you can find a product on TikTok and you walk into a store to buy the product, or you can find it on Instagram and you're chatting with your friends on WhatsApp, and you're going to a Sephora website to order, out to the brand's website to order. Like there are many touch points today that weren't really there, years ago. And so brands now need to be a lot more proactive, and they need to be a lot more aware of where these things are coming from and how they can be better prepared to avoid stockouts. Well, if stockouts are coming, they're proactive. They know already. They can sense that. Yeah, I'm going to have a stockout because of these activities, and I'm already reordering from my supplier or co-manufacturer to
Yeah.
prepare for that.
Yeah, I think it's a really great point. I mean, the chargebacks, right? The penalties and challenges for not maintaining the accurate inventory level, and even like the onus that those big retailers put on the small to
I
medium.
know. Yeah.
So they're putting a ton of I'm going to give you a PO for X, but I think that you should have Y in inventory.
Yeah.
Not a ton of logic around it. Aside, I've pulled my own algorithms and market intelligence, and maybe you'll perform like this brand that's nothing like you, right? And you have to hold that inventory, and
Yeah.
you have to hold that investment, right? And literally, that cash flow challenge is yours as a business because your retailers are dictating that to you. And then if you're not accurate in this, like you still get charged back. So it's a hard dynamic, I think, for small and mid-sized businesses to go in and work with the behemoths, but obviously they need them to scale.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's challenging. And then the other thing that I think about as we're talking through this, when we look at the entire value chain and the data that each party harnesses that's specific to our customers, right, or specific to brands themselves, one thing that is not new to me coming from the visibility space years ago is that it's the brand's data, but the partner
Yeah.
wants to charge them for getting that data in a format
Yeah.
reasonable, right? So if I'm the brand, I need visibility to certain things, but those other parties happen to hold on to that data. Well, I need that data to better do demand forecasting, understand and manage my inventory, et cetera. And I think what is so interesting about having the ability to have AI agents do a lot of this manual work is you don't need to pay for a $3,000 integration to get that partner to give you your own data. Now you can
Yeah.
keep sending it to me in the ugliest way possible, and Synth's just going to apply, their own their agent workforce to it, and I don't have to do it as a human anymore. And now I can scale more efficiently. So
Yeah.
that these brands are getting it from each side, right? The retailers, they're getting it from their partners. And this is no knock on either of these parties, but if you're a small and mid-sized brand trying to scale, at every turn, it's just cost and an investment on your end to help you get to that next level of growth. And it's really, really hard to do.
Thinking about, AI agents, we have this crazy mission, to make it easy for five people to manage a unicorn or billion-dollar CPG brand using AI agents. Do you think we're crazy?
I don't. I don't. And maybe that's what makes me like a little crazy too. I don't think it's crazy. And I was reflecting back to something you said earlier in this conversation. You said, hey, in 2023, we did this, we like didn't even have AI kind of considered. And I'm kind of laughing because like look at what has happened since 2023 and the past year and a half, really, or year and some change. The end of that year to now, look at how AI has advanced. Like it has
Yeah,
changed everything
everything.
in
Yeah.
our world. And I think I am very optimistic, even the tools that I use in my own life, right? And I look at what other companies are doing. I truly believe that you can build this brand, $1 billion brand, with five people. You just have to be thoughtful in how you're doing it. You have to have the right technology partners. You have to have the right approach to the agent build out appropriately. And I think that you can do it. I mean, literally, that is the beauty of it, right? You don't need to have
Yeah.
headcount that you historically did. And what I like about working with small to mid-sized brands too, not that we don't want to, go upstream, we certainly will over time, but you're getting to build along that journey with them. And it's a perfect moment for them to actually think,
Yeah.
okay, how would I build it as I scale versus how did I do it? I'm now in it for 15 years and I can't undo it all. And it's a lot harder to think about how I would adopt AI into my company. So
Yeah.
I don't think we're crazy at all. Ask me in 2 years and then
The amazing thing about the models is that, whatever it is you see today, expect to see 5x in 12 months, And so right now with the team, as we're coming up with different ideas and different concepts. And we look at the models today and we know that these models can't really solve for this idea today, but we're super confident that in a couple of months, in 6 months time, or in 12 months time, it will be there. And we want to be well prepared for those models. And I remember the call we had with one of the brands that one new brands we onboarded recently. During our first call with the brand, I remember talking about our mission, and she screamed on the call. She said, "Yes, like that is her dream. Like the number in her head is five people. That's what she wants to achieve." And I'm super bullish on that mission. And to be honest, I know that we can make it happen. I know that the technologies we have today, we can make that happen in a couple of I'll say in 12 to 24 months. That should be possible. It wasn't there, just last year or 2 years ago. It wasn't there, and it just tells you the potential that we have in our space and the kind of impact that we could potentially make and create for these brands that are trying to grow and scale with few people.
And on the topic of even ICP, and you're talking about the model evolution and how things will continue to evolve and get better, right? I think even if you think about the ICP itself, when we think about the context that we need to provide for our models to be successful, right? It is so, so critical that we have a really area, like a very solid area of focus, because we're going to solve unique areas to a specific space, and we're going to solve that better than anyone else. And the only
Yeah.
to provide very, very rich context. And I think that further focusing in on the right types of customers, the right types of problems, right, that will help us better build where we're going, and it'll help the models evolve and do better. So it all ties back to ICP, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm very, very excited about what we're building.
Yeah, me too. And just to wrap up, so if we have a food and beverage brand, book a demo and it's like, hey, I want to use Synth or a supplements brand or any other brand. Are we going to work with them? Are we working with them?
Yeah, yeah. So this is like that tough question for every startup. And what I would say in my own experience is we certainly should double down and spend like 80% of our time with the areas that we think we should focus on within beauty, personal care. I think that what we've learned is we have some success in other areas too, but we
Yeah.
can't let that completely derail our product roadmap, right? We can't let that completely derail where we're focused from like an outbound and growth strategy perspective. But I think that we should continue to consider 20% of where
Yeah.
time could to learn, think about where our product is going to continue to evolve and where we could service and grow. Because we didn't say we are only going to build the first $1 billion beauty brand on Synth, right? Well, we actually
Right, right.
is the first CPG brand. And in
Yeah,
order to do that, we're going to go eventually wide and deep. But we know right now to have enough commitment to do that in one specific area and maybe dabble and learn in a few others, but to
yeah,
not double down on those other areas. That's my thought. If you would have asked me very early on in my startup career, I would have been like, do it all,
yeah.
and you fail, right? That's what you learn. You fail.
Yeah, we failed doing that. So anyway, right now, 80% of the customers we work with are in beauty and personal care, and we have 20% in food, beverage, and supplement and home goods. Yeah. So I guess this has been really interesting. I really enjoyed this, and yeah, we'll try to be super consistent with this, but and hopefully maybe the next one we can even do it in person. But yeah, this was fun, and looking forward to hanging out with you guys, you and your family tomorrow as well.
You too.